And welcome back. And we're moving into our second segment for today. And as I mentioned, this is an interesting collaboration that you're definitely going to want to know more about. We have with us designer Rebecca Stirm, of course. She is known for her clothing designs and now for her purse designs under TWIG and Pearl brand. And joining us is Vice President for Oceana, Belize, Janelle Chanona. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Belize.
And thank you for being here. So, tell us about this collaboration. What does Rebecca Stirm do with Oceana, or Oceana with Rebecca Stirm?
Well, a few months ago, I did Janelle's bridal gown, and while we were doing fittings and stuff, we started talking about a potential collaboration between the brand and Oceana to help bring awareness to a specific species that was critically endangered, the Hawksbill turtle.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is my life, right? Everywhere I go, I'm talking about
How can we use
what I'm doing. But, more than that, I mean, Rebecca's approach to all her products has been from a very organic, very sustainable, very respectful approach. So when we had that conversation about the turtles, and I was sharing an experience at Half Moon Key, seeing a nesting turtle come up on the beach, and then having to regretfully tell her, but things like gill nets are still an issue. We had just, I think the day a fisherman had contacted us saying a young hawksbill had gotten caught in a gill net, and he was holding it for us, and got in contact with Ecomar and Linda and her team, and they were able to successfully release it. And you just started thinking, like, this is what's the issue with this gear. It's just such an indiscriminate gear. And Rebecca said, I'm sure there's a lot better things you could do with a gill net than fishing with it. And she took the idea and ran with it. And it's so amazing to have that conversation happen in May. And here we are 4 months later talking about a line, and it's just incredible. So just really grateful for Rebecca taking that on.
And so your creative process, Rebecca?
Well, going into it, I kind of want the brand to be a little more than just a handbag brand. You want there to be meaning behind it. You want there to be sustainability, and you want there to be kind of a purpose and an end goal. And kind of the end goal for Twig and Pearl is to help people to buy less. So to buy more quality items that you'll actually wear over and over, recycle the things you do buy and use, and in the long run, kind of be able to think a 20-year, 30-year, how does my purchases affect the whole planet and the ecosystem. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. Hence using the Hawksbill turtle's biggest enemy right now, the gill net, for our actual packaging for the bags.
Wow.
So it's kind of the idea that this is the only way that a gill net should ever be used. Not in the ocean, just to put your bag in, just that. So kind of using things that would originally be for bad and using them for good in a way that is actually okay.
There you go. So you see the net.
Yeah. And it also gives you an appreciation of what this gill net is, because a lot of people maybe haven't come in contact with what a gill net feels like.
So the little turtle gets caught right in here.
Yes, and the net is designed so that anything that comes in contact with it, if you're swimming and you don't see a gill net in front of you, you would get entangled.
That did happen with your models for your
campaign. With Georgia and Iman. But I mean, it's really what the purpose is, and sea turtles and other marine life have to breathe air. So when they get entangled in a gill net, and we saw as recently as yesterday, folks from the Turnip Atoll Reserve, I want to shout them out for doing that. The gill net got away from the fishermen, obviously, got wrapped up in coral, and so it's so destructive on so many levels. We saw that video a couple weeks ago from our alliance where a drifting gill net ended up trapping 2 sharks, one a very large tiger shark. I mean, it's waste, and at a time when we need to be thinking critically about sustainability, and we need to be aware of what our actions are having in terms of ripple out effects, it's so important that we have this conversation. And what I really love about this is the conversation about gill nets has been happening for more than 2 decades. what we've really been trying to do is expand the conversation, because obviously the people talking about it, we've been talking.
Yeah.
We need to expand it so that more people are talking, more people are engaged, more people are supportive, so that the conversation changes something on the outside, because 2 decades is far too long to be talking about something. We need to be acting.
You know, I love, you pointed out something, and oftentimes we forget that we may be privy to knowledge other people aren't. And for many people, they probably haven't seen a gill net. If you are an inland person especially, you don't go out to the sea, you don't know about how people fish. And so you can really see the size of the net and just can imagine what can be caught in it.
Exactly.
And so what you have there, Rebecca, it's a bag, but that's not your design, right?
It's just,
it's just a purse
bag.
bag.
It's just to stick your bag inside of for travel and stuff.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that the more people who care about it, the more opportunity for there to be change. So if only the people working in Oceana and fisheries know the effects of gill nets and the effects of losing a species like the Hawksbill turtle, if only they know that, it's the people who can actually make the difference, every individual in the country, it'll never happen. But when all of a sudden it's gone into, say, fashion or entertainment, all of a sudden everyone starts to hear about it, and the fishermen's wives and daughters start to bug them. Hey, daddy, you can't use gill nets. Hey, daddy, you can't use the gill nets. And so it becomes a bigger thing when more people care about it, and slowly change will start to happen.
Yeah, and I want to expand into that aspect of the conversation a little bit more, just to talk a bit about the turtle and its role in our ecosystem and the importance of having it in our country.
So turtles are what's called keystone species. So when you go into an environment and you're trying to assess its health and the integrity of it, seeing a turtle says there's sponge here, there's algae here, there's things that I can eat, that you know, it's one of those things to know, okay, if I see this, it means this, and this means that, and there's parrotfish, and it's all about talking about the connection of that
Interconnectivity
of it. And then it's also looking at creatures like sharks is another keystone species, because in terms of helping to maintain the balance of, you know, because sharks eat turtles. So if you see a shark, then you also know you have a healthy ecosystem, because they're keeping that balance. You remove one species from that very intricate, delicate balance, and then something else starts to overpopulate, and then the whole ecosystem changes. So it's really important, and you know, critically endangered. Several species of turtles are critically endangered. We're talking about possible extinction of more species in our lifetime than the history of record keeping of species, which is just so incredibly overwhelming at times. But then you realize things like this really play a role in being a catalyst for change. And very quickly along the idea of expanding the conversation and taking it into places is really stressing there are several groups that want to be a part of supporting the fishermen transition into cleaner gear, because we want to keep fishermen fishing. And what the science is saying is if you use indiscriminate gear, you're catching fish that you're not targeting. So you're creating impacts that you don't want to see. You had on this couch yesterday fishermen saying they pay to go get tarpon permit and bony fish. Gill nets are trapping those species that are technically protected, but they're unprotected from this gear because it's so indiscriminate. So there you have a fisherman paying to catch a permit, releasing that one permit, being proud of the fact that I'm releasing this permit, but then lo and behold, you have a gill net a couple of miles down the coast that catching a whole school of permit.
All the babies.
You have $100 million sports fishing industry at jeopardy from a very cheap net that on registry in Belize only 147 people are using
Or should use.
Or should be using. So in terms of looking at the population of people that are legally using it right now, that's a very small number to be able to support to transition to better gear, sustainable gear that keeps them on the water, keeps them, you know, taking care of their families with dignity.
Now, what seems to be the hesitation in removing the use of gill net?
I don't know.
Because
you know,
it's something that is clearly articulated. We see the net, we can imagine small fish and species that we don't want to take out of the water or kill. But with only 100 left, is it just I'm asking.
I would
don't
tell
know.
you, I mean,
Yeah.
I would love for you to pose
Yeah.
that question to the regulators and the
Yeah.
people who have that power. But I will tell you, my very first conversation with the new CEO, Dr. Cho, he said, you know, we're not getting rid of gill nets yet. I said, well, I would love for us to look at this. And our last proposal was to say, well, let's talk about a phase out and have a hard deadline for when these nets come out of the water, you know, make it as soon as possible that we can realistically transition. But let's have a catalyst that they come out of the water.
Yeah.
You know, and I was sharing with Rebecca even that this year there's a very interesting report coming out of the US talking about the fact that under their Marine Mammal Protection Act, they won't be importing fish from countries who are using gear that's harming marine mammals. And you talk to Jamal about the manatees, and the gill nets are another fishing gear are part of that. So you look at the ripple out effect for a much wider audience in terms of saying it's not just me and my one net and leave me alone. It's really consequences for the entire fishery, both in terms of sports fishing impact and possible exportation. Because if we're not keeping numbers of quota and bycatch and how many mammals are being impacted by this gear, you know, that can have some very real consequences for us on a much larger scale.
Yeah, and I think it's all about keeping the conversation aware about best practices. As we're evolving as a society, so should our practices in the
Exactly.
workplace.
Yeah.
So, Rebecca, that's a whole lot of causes to get into.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you make beautiful purses out of leather,
Yes.
which isn't
Is
from the
not-
sea.
Exactly. Yes. So the leather we use is a food byproduct.
Yeah.
So all of you meat eaters have probably eaten the cow.
Yeah.
So instead of, I mean, we've never had a leather industry in Belize where we're actually using our cow hides to make something out of. They're basically just going to waste or becoming food for another scrap or whatever for an animal. And so I met someone who started doing the hides, and I wanted to start using, it's a food byproduct, therefore it's almost like we're recycling. Like this part of the cow is going to waste. And it's kind of, the way I think of it is that we're putting the cow's full life to use. Kind of like how the Indians did with the buffalo. They used every single part so
Respecting
that
it.
every kill would be respectfully used.
Okay.
That you're not just, oh, we use this part, but we don't use that part. The full thing, its full life would have had a use instead of just getting rid of it.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I do. But this bag is actually vegan friendly. So we're trying to launch a few more pieces that are non-leather, fully vegan friendly. This one's 100% cotton, and yeah, just a little more vegan friendly.
And not leather.
And not leather, yes, full cotton.
Now, the inspiration here is obviously the turtles,
Yes.
and we see that on the different items. This is born out of the collaboration with Oceana. What is the marketing effort? Is it a fundraising, or is it simply awareness?
So it's awareness and a bit of fundraising.
Okay.
So every bag that we sell, we're donating 30% of the profit to Oceana's efforts to saving Hawksbill turtle and other ocean creatures that are critically endangered at this point.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we want to kind of push harder that it's not just the fisheries and the fishermen that need to take action. It's actually us personally.
Yeah.
So something that everyone can do is just not using so much plastic. That's one of the biggest things. I mean, the beach cleanups that are done every year, organized by smaller groups and even by Oceana, to just get the trash off the beaches so that during nesting season, the little turtles actually can get to the ocean before being eaten or caught in a plastic bottle or a cup or hair clip.
Yeah.
And like just the photos we see and the videos, actually was looking at a video the other day of this turtle that was stuck inside of, you know, the little plastic things that hold bottles together?
Rings.
It was stuck inside of one of those rings, and it had actually grown to form, its actual shell shaped the ring.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
it was so badly
Deformed.
constricted and deformed.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised it even lived.
Yeah.
But that's one of the rare ones that actually live. So many of them are caught in something and get eaten before they even get to the ocean or just die.
Yeah.
And so the little things that we can do, like not bothering them. If you see a turtle, don't bother it. We all want a photo for Instagram or Facebook. Don't bother it. Just leave it. Let it nest.
Passive observation.
Yes, passive observation. And so just the tiny things like that that we personally can do to kind of help the population to increase. Even though we feel like it's a little bit, it's a huge bit. If every person didn't drop a piece of trash on the beach, there would be no trash on the beach and no opportunity for them to get caught in the trash. So
So, I mean, what this is about, I'm really glad that initiatives like Rebecca come to life.
Yeah.
We've talked before on the show about Fish Right, Eat Right,
Yeah.
which is around the same concept of, in answering that question of why are the nets still in the water, of saying, okay, well, until we get them out, we're going to have these conversations. So we open that up to chefs to say, if you're going to buy fish products, then don't use a fisherman that's using unsustainable practices, because you see this trend of people wanting to know where their food comes from. How is it caught? How is it prepared? What are you adding to it? You know, with all the questions about everything that's being done in terms of food security, we're also thinking about how it impacts our health, how it impacts the world we live in. So we are so supportive of ideas like this. We encourage people to continue to talk about fish right, eat right, and realize that if we fish right and we eat right, we can always do that, and we can do so sustainably. Helping these fishermen, do something they love, and if other people want to grow up and be fishermen, if that's the problem that we want to solve, and says I want to help feed the world, then fishing is still an option. It's natural. It's wild caught seafood. It's better than anything else that's processed and chemically enhanced.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think it's just remembering that there's always a better way to do things. And why continue doing traditional things that we've been doing for a long time that aren't necessarily good for the environment, if we can come up with a more innovative way to fish or to shop or to eat that will be a little more innovative, to live in general. Exactly.
And this is innovation right here. This is conservation meets fashion. And of course, turtles are very cute. They're also very trendy. But most importantly, this one is done with protecting the marine life in Belize. So the bags are obviously, they all have turtles on them, including the leather.
The Hawksbill turtle.
Yes. And you get your special dust bag with your gill net.
Which can double as a market bag.
Of course. It is a Belizean designer. All your products are handmade. And I think it is just it's an amazing idea. Do you have like a little paper tag that will say?
So we have a full brochure that goes along.
Okay, good.
Giving full information on the Hawksbill turtle, as well as what you can do to help curb the population decrease. So.
And I definitely want to know more about the line. So you have 3 different pieces here.
Yes.
So you could tell us a little bit more about it.
So we have the crossbody. This is we've named them after the 3 elements on the Hawaiian Lokahi triangle. So the whole concept of the Lokahi triangle is that each element, so earth, humans, and kind of spirituality, that they go hand in hand to bring balance. And when any element is missing, we are out of balance, and the other 2 elements will suffer. So an example of the Hawksbill turtle, when we've put our own needs ahead of the environment and even our spirituality suffers. So kind of keeping that balance. So inside of all of the bags, if you zip it open,
there's a surprise.
There's a surprise. You'll see on the inside we printed the Lokahi triangle.
Yes,
just as a kind of a reminder to everyone to keep the balance. It's kind of hard to see.
You have to buy one to see
I don't think so.
And so we've named this one after the earth element, this one after the spirituality element, and this one after the Ohana family element, just as kind of a reminder that it's the future generations of the Hawksbill turtle that will keep it alive.
And it's a perfect size for a family beach day.
Yes, it is a perfect beach tote.
And as you said, 30% of the sale goes towards the conservation efforts of Oceana, Belize, so not only are you buying a beautiful product supporting a Belizean artist, you are also doing your part in contributing towards the conservation of our marine life.
Is this a limited edition line, or is it?
They are actually limited edition.
Okay, so get on that.
You're gonna have to get
Yes. So obviously today's the first day many people will hear about it. I know you've been talking a little bit about it online, giving people a sneak peek. What has been the reaction so far?
Firstly, it was that, turtles are cute. But then when you actually explain the concept, it's like, oh my goodness, this is more than turtles are cute. And so just kind of people realizing, like there's so many people I've spoken to that did not even realize, like firstly didn't even know what a Hawksbill turtle was, or that we had them in Belize, thinking it was something that lived in Hawaii or in the Pacific somewhere else. Never even realizing that was our turtle. And then also not realizing what they are doing personally that could make such a big difference in the lives of the turtles.
Okay. Well, there you go. One new element to educating people about why we need to protect our marine resources. We have images of the gill net there once again, and you can also get the gill net bag that holds your purse. It's a dust bag, sorry. And put it to better use than out into the sea. Ladies, this is such a fantastic effort. Where can people get the purses?
So they'll be available on Twig and Pearl's website.
Okay.
So go to twigandpearl.com/turtles, and you'll be able to see information about the Hawksbill turtle, as well as shop the collection and watch the full video about the turtles. And then Oceana is actually taking the collection to See and Taste Belize this weekend. So it'll be available there as well.
Yay.
So, which is another, we, as a Belizean team, as Belizeans who want to, do everything we can for our marine assets, we're so supportive of so many causes, and See and Taste is really about showcasing the best of Belize. So again, we're proud to partner with people like Rebecca, with the Bee Lionesses group out in Key Cocker about the lionfish earrings. Really, as I said, trying to expand the conversation, more people talking. Many heads are better than one. We put our resources together, a heavy load becomes a light burden. So we just really need to make sure people keep talking and know what they can do to help and help to make that happen, because we are all catalysts for change, and it just starts with one. And as I said, it's so important as our challenges mount for us to be thinking about food security at home and making sure we can take care of ourselves. If we take care of it, it can take care of us. We see the tragedy happening in the Caribbean with superstorms. Barrier reef is such a critical frontline defense for mitigating storm surge damage. So all these things are working in our favor, but we have to make sure the odds of them being able to do that are improved as we, take care of ourselves now.
Exactly.
Well, wonderful initiative. If you want to pick up your special turtle bag, I'll call them that, you can visit Twig and Pearl website. If you're living outside of Belize, we know the diaspora likes to tune in. You got to head out to Florida to the See and Taste Festival, and you may be able to pick it up there as well. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your work with us. Excellent initiative, and we'll see what other special collection will come out next.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Thanks so much.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the black, white, and yellow gala. So stay tuned.